The conflict in Ukraine continues to dominate global headlines, but the narrative surrounding the war is shifting dramatically, particularly from Moscow's perspective. Russia is now claiming a significant psychological victory, suggesting that its adversaries in the West are experiencing a deep crisis of confidence. Ambassador Vasily Nebenzia, Russia's permanent representative to the United Nations, articulated this viewpoint clearly. He argues that Western nations are starting to lose their belief that they can successfully subdue Moscow through this extended conflict. For Russia, the war in Ukraine is no longer seen merely as a bilateral dispute, but rather a direct and unavoidable confrontation between the Russian Federation and the entire Western bloc. In this view, Ukraine is simply being utilized as a convenient tool by the West in its broader strategy to exert pressure on Moscow. Russia interprets the apparent reduction in attention and zeal from some Western governments toward the conflict as a sign of recognition and acknowledgement that the strength and resolve of Russia are far harder to defeat than initially anticipated. However, the United States has quickly attempted to counter this perceived shift in confidence by tightening its economic screws. Washington recently announced a new round of comprehensive sanctions against Moscow. The primary targets of this aggressive financial maneuver are two colossal players in the Russian energy sector, Rosneft and Lukoil. The US government justified these sanctions by stating that Russia has refused to cease the military operations that have persisted for over 2 years. The explicit goal laid out by the U.S. Treasury Department is to severely limit the financial resources available to the Kremlin for funding its military operations. Washington strongly believes that these two massive energy companies are indispensable pillars supporting Russia's economic resilience. Furthermore, the U.S. administration confirmed that this policy of relentless economic pressure will continue, aligning with the broader strategy to push for an immediate end to the hostilities in Ukraine. Unsurprisingly, Russia has met these new restrictive measures with immediate and sharp criticism. Maria Zakharova, the spokesperson for the Russian Foreign Ministry, was quick to condemn the actions, labeling the new sanctions as fundamentally counterproductive. She argues that instead of achieving their stated goals, these steps taken by America only serve to worsen the overall situation and actively push the chances of meaningful dialogue and peace further out of reach. According to the Russian government, such sanctions do not foster the necessary trust required for successful negotiations. Instead, they act as a major impediment on the path toward peace talks. Zakharova strongly asserted that Moscow has become fully accustomed to the economic pressures applied by the West. She emphasized that despite being the target of multiple layers of sanctions over the past 3 years, the domestic Russian economy continues to demonstrate remarkable strength and stability. Russia maintains a firm conviction that these latest restrictions will have only a minimal impact on its national stability or its capability to continue operations, cementing the narrative of Russian economic fortitude versus perceived Western fatigue.